Fletcher, and I've spent the last year as a fellow with the Shuttleworth Foundation, implementing a roadmap for innovating with open education resources. This video illustrates the landscape, the progress I've made, and my plans for expanding the ecosystem for learning using the roadmap.
My vision is a globally accessible highway for learning made possible by libraries of free and adaptable open education resources and by innovations that deliver high-quality learning from OER in the libraries. But learning libraries, especially if they contain remixable content, which is the kind we want, are hard to grow and maintain, and innovators can't easily get content in and out of the libraries. These technical barriers stifle innovation and ultimately learning. I spent 4 years leading one of these libraries and seeing the problems from the inside. And I've worked with many others in the OER community and seen the same barriers throughout the OER ecosystem. My background in software usability and in software interoperability give me a unique perspective on how to tackle these barriers. Last year, I made a 3-step plan to help grow libraries of remixable education resources and at the same time give innovators efficient access to the libraries. The first step was a communication channel called an Application Programming Interface, API, for getting content in and out of the libraries. I adapted an existing API called SWORD, creating a version specialized for education and optimized for Remix, named OERpub. Building on SWORD expands the ecosystem because SWORD already has a large community of developers and repositories. The OERpub additions make the API relevant to open education and good for adaptations and remix. The second part of the plan was to implement the API in Connections. We picked Connections for the first implementation because anyone can publish to Connections, and content in Connections is remixable, the kind that we're trying to increase. Content is modular, pluggable, adaptable, and shareable. So Connections now has OERpub implemented, and for the first time ever, anyone in the OER ecosystem can create tools and services that help authors publish, translate, and adapt remixable content. 2 separate initiatives to modernize the Connections repository, using Google App Engine or Modern Plone, are both committed to supporting the new API. The final step in year 1 was codenamed the Massive Content Enabler. We created prototypes that use OERpub to help authors create and publish content. One retrieves OER from a library, lets a translator translate from scratch or clean up a machine translation, and then publishes the translation with links to the original. The second is the prototype Massive Content Enabler. It takes documents from Google Docs, word processing files, blogs, etc., and transforms them into a remixable OER format. We will continue improving it in the rest of year 1. Over time, developers can add more ways to create and edit content, and more pathways to OER libraries. So what is the landscape for remixable OER and for using the roadmap to grow the libraries and enable learning innovations now? First, the demand for OER is increased and the supply of raw, shareable OER is flowing at a higher rate. Remix of these learning materials is still hard, but demand for remixability and the pathways that the OERpub API makes possible has significantly increased. Just a few examples facilitated by OERpub. The Washington State Open Course Library, OCL, wants to publish modularized versions of their courses using OERpub. Sailor.org is creating a complete general education degree, all from OER, including the Washington courses, and they want to make remixable versions available using OERpub. Siavula and the College Access Project, CAP, are publishing physical science, math, biology, and sociology textbooks in the same remixable format, and then printing them in customized ways. And most importantly, innovations like Manassas and PLS are combining it all to deliver inexpensive, effective, personalized education. Textbooks from Connections and Siavula, videos and simulations from Khan Academy and PhET, and questions from open assessment banks. The OER Pub API is poised to make all this possible and efficient. The whole purpose of the roadmap and OER Pub API is to fill the libraries, enable the innovators, and get to the learning. In Year 1, we removed roadblocks and built high-speed pathways. Year 2 is about using the progress to fill the libraries, expand the ecosystem, and support innovation. We'll work directly with content producers that have entered the landscape and are ready to share remixable content. They have high-quality content, and we can build specialized tools and services using the API that make the process efficient. The libraries get bigger. To supply the demand for remixable content, we will continue to improve the massive content enabler, making it easy to use by novices and experts alike, supporting more content inputs with higher fidelity, making multimedia and assessment easy to add so that textbooks come to life, and developing a simple-to-use visual editor for creating content from scratch or for adding features and editing imported content. The massive content enabler will fill the libraries much faster. Innovators are remaking education through alternative accreditation, peer and social learning, and intelligent learning machines. They need access not only to repositories of learning content, but also to assessment banks. Teachers say this is critical, and cognitive science research shows the importance of practice and testing for knowledge retention. We will work directly with FullMarks and Quadbase, two open source and open content banks, to implement OER Pub and a common exchange format. To sustain the ecosystem, we need more innovators and we need software developers engaged. The OER Pub API gives them a way to get involved, and I have two strategies planned to attract them and maintain their innovations. 1. Sponsoring internships, technical gatherings at conferences, sprints, and hackfests to attract talented, visionary individuals. 2. Partnering with existing organizations, businesses, and consortia on tools and services that they need and can maintain. So this next year is about using OER Pub to increase ready-to-remix content, providing a great editor, the enhanced MCE, getting assessment onto the roadmap, and expanding and sustaining innovators.